This a Batman tune. I promise you. This shit lit, cuz. This shit lit. Alright? Run that joint.
Niggas looking for the light. Me and my niggas prepared for the dog. Yeah. So we gon' get it on for the last days, nigga. You already know what it is. 140 for the rubber.
They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war and see who make it out. Earn your stripes, dog, you with us or not. We can get it on when it's on, they don't never stop. First you get that power, gotta hold it down. Watch your step, boy, you on holy ground. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war and see who make it out. It's a problem, tell them pop off. I die for I let my colors fly, boy. For a nigga take me, they'll drop dead. AR, clean them up like a mop head. Say he cool, he bad, he really so tough. They like, damn, look what he did to Billy go rough. Little bitch think she Kiki Palmer, silly hoe. She know I'm that bull, but I ain't from Philly though. From the city where they say about that ribbon like petty boots. Know them niggas plotting, gotta deal with me. Can't catch me slipping, got to steal with me. Just left Alabama, bought a chopper from some hillbilly move. He made my they feel the blade. Leave them all bruised, come through like a plague. Rebel off the leash like a dog out the cage. Call me Johnny Blaze on Run West May. Watch your step get stretched like a limousine. So my brother bring that blade back wet. That's my enemy. Little nigga, this that cult, need to talk. Niggas know I got blood in my cup. I just sip it like it's grenadine. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war and see who make it out. Earn your stripes, dog, you with us or not. We can get it on when it's on, it'll never stop. First you get that power, gotta hold it down. Watch your step, boy, you on holy ground. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out. Tell them niggas good night, here come the best. Look, told them niggas get right or get left. UPK, bad man, I pin to your flesh. Hellboy, rip the soul out of dead man shit. Got the rate, the power, I been the showstopper. Yeah, they might hate, but I know they gon' watch. Zone on lock, and you know the flow prop. Iced out, got the drip out of David Jones lock. Know I got the plan, they say that you the man. No shit, Sherlock, I'm the one you heard by. Burn down the building, let them all watch. Throw that one west up, then I swear. Sick with this shit, I do not need a detox. He don't watch a step, blow him out them Reeboks. We taking over, I'm sending the word out. Can't see me, little nigga, I put you in a bird box. Look, it's One West practical, gladiator, maximal. Creep on them slow, but that Glock fire rapid. All I want is more power, more straps to blow. Ain't got excuse for no car, he gon' have to go. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war and see who make it out. Earn your stripes, dog, you with us or not. We can get it on when it's on, it don't never stop. First you get that power, gotta hold it down. Watch your step, boy, you on holy ground. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out.
Backstage.
Yeah, nigga. Fake ass nigga.
You ain't no Israelite, bitch, you a gospelite, bitch.
Fuck you talking about? Hey,
If that nigga won't walk, bitch, we ready. It ain't hard to find us. Hawk, I keep that stick locked, loaded, boy, he'll fade you line up. Young nigga name is Slayer. What you think, boy? You be done to try. Soft cold shit, we bout it. UPK, you solid. Little bitch think I'm crazy, think I'm playing like bitch, I ain't the one. Warfare every day, so who is you, bitch? I don't need your love. Killers right round the way. What you think? I love this brotherhood. A hood. More than you, bitch. Sharp on shit, I'm bout it. UPK, too solid. Fuck nigga don't want war. It ain't enough clips in your army. All the bitches wanna take my piece. All they hoes wanna take my piece. All the niggas wanna take my piece. No, I can't let a dog take it from me. I can't let a dog take it from me. You a hoe study and you dummy. And these bitches really out this bitch walking around like they don't know nothing. And a lame nigga fall for them and get set up for the coins and get gunned down, man down. Should've took the time, get a damn no. But I see the starter and I show her. She could never get a preach hoe. You a dirt ass, rust ass neck bitch with a face.
fake ass jury. In Tennessee while I'm touring. That's a Tennessee, but she luring. And a sucker duck bitch ass boy, fuck nigga over that bitch muggin'. I say, if that nigga won't walk, bitch, we ready. It ain't hard to find us. Hawk, I keep that stick locked, loaded, boy, he'll fade you line up. Young nigga name is Slayer. What you think, boy? You be done to try. Soft coast shit, we bout it. UPK, you solid. Little bitch think I'm crazy, think I'm playing. Like, bitch, I ain't the one. Warfare every day, so who is you, bitch? I don't need your love. Killers right round the way. What you think? I love this brotherhood. Hood. More than you, bitch. You a lame nigga down to me. Eat candy, but I'm sucker free. You a little nigga, ain't nothing to me. Base up, boy, I fit a beat. Yeah, AR-223. Draco with a magazine. Yeah, that clip run like limousine. I shoot your ass in the spleen. Boy, I bust your ass in the temple. We debating by the temple. Tell the truth, boy, you's a victim. And you're squirm off like a lizard. Nigga walk down my road. Why does nigga come down my road? Boy, come down my road. Boy, I charge your ass toll fee. I'm a real big priest, nigga. UPK play for keys, nigga. Command to get a damn order, but ain't nothing to me to damn kill you. I stuck in his ass like a cat. All weapons, boys full of tech. Boy, like a close combat. Nigga, I popped off for a neck. If that nigga won't walk, bitch, we ready. It ain't hard to find us. Hawk, I keep that stick locked, loaded, boy, he'll fade you line up. Young nigga name is Slayer. What you think, boy? You be done to try. Soft coast shit, we bout it. UPK, you solid. Little bitch think I'm crazy, think I'm playing. Like, bitch, I ain't the one. Warfare every day, so who is you, bitch? I don't need your love. Killers right round the way. What you think? I love this brotherhood. Hood. More than you, bitch.
Christ said 7 women gonna be on one nigga in the end time. Nigga, fuck wrong with you, boy. Stressed by that damn hoe ass bitch. Fake ass nigga too. Dumb ass motherfucker. Fuck you.
Backstage.
Shalom. The ISUPK started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander Johanna. Since 1969, we teach the truth according to the Bible that blacks and Hispanics and Native Indians are the real Jews according to the Bible. I was filling in for Officer Dungabar to get through. You know what I mean? Speaking of man, just rolling right now. So any questions, type them in the chat, and we get to it ASAP. Also, at class at 394 Lodge Road, B18 5PW, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 to 9. Also on the ends. And we're class also in the Caribbean Center in Leicester, LE12 0AU as well. LE12 0AU as well. It's going to be when Saturday 5 to 7, so make sure you reach there as well. Okay, what class down bar will we set first?
Yeah, let me just put something, man.
Alright, so any questions, type them in the chat. We have the Brotherhood class, which is Monday, which is the Monday, which is the what's Monday class again? Is the law class Salakia by Officer Mawasa and Officer Ariala, 7 to 9. Make sure you watch that. We got Tuesday, which from live from Manchester, which is the Brotherhood class where we teach black men how to be brothers. It might sound silly, but listen, you have to be taught how to be a brother, man. The same way you have to be taught how to be a mother and a father. The same way you was taught how to tie your shoelaces, you need to also how to taught to be a brother as well, man. You got brothers out there in gangs, killing each other, and they think that they're brothers. They think they're doing the right thing. You know, you kill one of mine, I kill one of yours. We wear a blue rag, you wear a red rag. And we teach black men how to love blue rags and red rags, man. North side and south side, east and west. You know what I mean? So make sure you log into that every Tuesday, 7 to 9. Also every Wednesday, which is the history class today as well. Officer Dungabar teaches a powerful history class, about to get into it now, 7 to 9. I believe today is going to King James wrote what? King James wrote a book called Demonology. Gonna get into that as well. A lot of people say King James is what a mama man, a homosexual, whatever the case may be. And we're gonna prove today that that is the case, man. But King James wrote a book about it. People that knew King James gonna prove it, the whole 9. So we're gonna get into that as well. Thursday class tomorrow, which is the mandatory class for all officers and troopers, is the scripture breakdown class as well. 7 to 9, 394 Lodge Road, B18 5PW. Make sure you come to that as well. Friday, Lashawan Kodash, Officer of Alban from Manchester. Make sure you log into that as well. You also can participate and join in. Also, you can jump in on the live stream or even just jump in on the chat as well. There was also a quiz. Also, log into that. Also, my favorite, man, on the ends every 9 to 11. Send your topics. We go to all the hot topics in the UK, over the world. Listen, man, it's lit, man. Make sure you go to that. And Saturday as well at the Caribbean Center Leicester, LE120AU. We're gonna be there as well, teaching the city of Leicester, man. So make sure you like that as well, man. So, any questions? Any question, man? First, before we go into it, bear with me a second. Also, I'll put a link into the chat now for attendance. Make sure you put your name down there for attendance as well. I'll do it right now. Give you 90 days. Bear with. Shalom to Hadassah, Ahawaba, Nakapaya, Sha'ara, all in the chat as well. I'll put the link down there for attendance. Make sure you log into that as well. So we're getting some stuff as well, man. So as you all know, history has been lied upon. That's why we gotta have a history class every Wednesday. You want to go now, yeah? All right, also now I'll pass it over to Officer Dungle Boss. Alright, Shalom Israel. This is the history class. So we're gonna go into some history like we do every week. Bear with me. Go ahead. One second. You got someone at the door, you know? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Alright, let me just set up my laptop. Alright, bear with me. Alright, I need to. No, so that's alright, so I need to find a way to share my entire screen. Alright, so that's bear with me, I'm just trying to Are you able to add me into the stream from that side? Let me see if it shows. There's at the moment. Well, yes, because my camera's off. Leave off of it. Want to share the screen or so? Is what I put on there on? Yeah. Hold on, let me show it again. What about now? Is it on? Fine, share it now. Alright, so can you see the entire screen? Can you share it now? Yeah, can you see it now? Fine. Alright then. Let me go to. Not full screen or? Let me go to. You're gonna have to keep pulling it in and out the stream. No, sir. Where do I go to? From the beginning. Alright then, so now we're going to go into King James. He wrote a book called Demonology. It's going to be a little bit rough because obviously the laptop, I couldn't get it to work for some reason. So now there's this notion that King James taught people to believe in demons, and they say, why do you believe in the Bible if King James taught you to believe in demons? So that's what people say. They say King James taught you to believe in demons and witches and witchcraft, and he wrote a book, and King James is a Freemason and all of these kind of things. So how can you believe his Bible? So that's what people say. So we're going to go into the book of Demonology. We're going to go into what happened with King James. We're going to go into why King James wrote the book. We're going to go into what King James learned when he traveled to Denmark. We're going to learn who King James met on his travel to Denmark. We're going to learn what happened to King James' ships when they believe he almost got shipwrecked 2 times. Salaki, can you hear me?
Karawan Khan, sir, can you hear me?
Just a notch.
Karawan Khan, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So, all right, this is the 3 books that we're going to go into. So now, there's a book called The Discovery of Witchcraft, Reginald Scott. Listen, I felt like a magician when I ordered this book, man. I felt weird. I was thinking, whoever's packaging my parcels must think this guy ordered some weird things, man. So now this is The Discovery of Witchcraft. This is a book where this man was writing in this book, and he was trying to say that what he said in this book was witches don't exist and demons don't exist. He goes, the people that was doing sorcery, he goes, it's just all the acting, they're doing it to make money. So he was mad at the people that was doing the witch hunts. So if you know about a witch hunt, that is someone that hunts witches. So now here, this is James, the middle one is a book called James the First in the English Witch Hunts. So that gives you the history of King James and so forth. It gives you what was going on in Europe and England and all of those kind of things. And then on the right, you have the book Demonology. So now the book Demonology, what King James wrote, was written in response to the first book called The Discovery of Witchcraft. Because one man was saying demons and evil spirits don't exist. And another man was saying, yo, they do exist. So that's what the whole thing was about. So now let's go to the next slide. Slucky, able to read that again. So now we're gonna I'm gonna give you the backdrop. So now we're gonna give you what happened. Now I'm gonna give you what happened with King James and so forth. So now we're gonna go into what happened with him, how it all started, how King James was taught that some little demons attacked his ship. So Lucky, go ahead.
But the Scottish king visit was not all about rivalry and overindulgence. On his travels through his wife's native land,
so now King James' wife was from where? Denmark. So King James' wife was from Denmark. Her name was Anne of Denmark. So now there's loads of Annes. You got Anne Boleyn, you got Anne of Cleves, and this was Anne of Denmark. Now, by the way, Anne of Denmark, she was also black, King James' wife. So this is the mother of Charles and them. So this is Anne of Denmark. This is when King James is first going to meet his wife. Go ahead.
So like the screen card. Where was I? Native land. He met a number of intellectuals and philosophers.
So now this is the part that you need. It says King James on his travel to Denmark met intellectual philosophers, and on King James travel, these philosophers that he met men that was telling him, yo, these witches, we need to do something about them. So he met these philosophers and was reasoning with King James. And now this is the beginning of King James understanding what they was telling him. So in the beginning, King James was like, yeah, he was listening until he got shipwrecked, and then someone came up to him and told him, yo, you know, they probably put a curse on you, man. So okay, go ahead.
Good one, Khan. Including a leading Danish theologian named Niels Hemmingsen, as well as being a staunch Calvinist. Hemmingsen was also a noted demonologist.
So now he says he was a noted demonologist. So now this man met King James in Denmark. Go ahead.
Good one, Khan. He and James had a lengthy debate about theological issues, and the Scottish king afterwards confessed to being so impressed by the elderly theologians that their meeting stood out as one of the highlights of his visit.
So now this meeting that they had, it stood out as one of the highlights of his visit. Why? Because this man was a demonologist, whereas he studies like, yo, what they're doing ain't right and so forth. And then King James is listening to him, and he met astronomers and so forth. Go ahead. Prof is going to read it. No, sir.
Come on.
Khan. To being so impressed by the elderly theologian that their meeting stood out as one of the highlights of his visit. Similarly, influential was James' meeting with Tycho Branch, a renowned astronomer. Branch was a fervent believer in the existence of witchcraft.
So now this man was a believer in the existence of witchcraft. Why? Because this man, these men read the Bible, and they saw the Bible says, don't suffer a witch to live.
they saw that the Bible says rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So now, that's what they was talking about. But later on, a witch became a woman that flies around on a broom and turns into a cat and turns into a black cat and puts her spirit into animals and so forth, so they can fit through little gaps. That's what it became later in life. But in the beginning, a witch was someone that, you know, practiced magic and sorcery and necromancy and so forth. And these was the things that these men was talking about. Back then, these men was talking about these things. This is what they didn't like. So they was zealous and said, yo, we're going to kill these witches, man. So they're telling King James, yo, you see these witches in your country, you need to kill these witches, man. Don't let these witches get away with doing all their magic and so forth. Because why? In King James's country and England, there was no punishment for sorcery and whatnot. So now, people saying that King James taught us to believe in demons. The truth is King James was killing them, man.
That's right.
King James was so zealous of God, he goes, it's against the law of God to practice magic, man. And he started to kill them. So people that say, yeah, King James got us to believe in witches and so forth, they haven't read the book, man. We ain't even got into the book yet, but when we do get into the book, you're going to see what the book's actually about. King James said, yo, punish them by burning them with fire, man. That's how zealous of the law King James was, man. King James didn't get you to sit down and read the Kabbalah and all of that stuff and get you to believe that witchcraft books. That's what they make out that he got you to do. That's not what it is, man. King James' whole concern is, how do we punish these people, man? How do we take them to trial? I mean, all you have to do is look up a witch hunt. What's a witch hunt? Someone that hunts witches, man.
That's right.
That's all. All you have to look up is King James and the witch hunt. A witch hunt is someone who hunts witches. Now, if King James wanted you to believe in witches, he would have spared the witches, man. The one that wanted the witches spared was Reginald Scott. He was like, let them witches live, man. They're just doing their job. Don't kill them. And King James was like, nah, I'm killing them. So if anything, you should like King James, man.
That's right.
King James was trying to rid his kingdom of homosexuals and witches.
That's right.
King James said a homosexual is a witch, man, and they started to get rid of both of them alike. You should like King James, man. So, like, go ahead.
The book there. What page is it? I don't know what page is it. I know, sir. Gone. An attempt to convince James of its dangers. Witches were actively hunted out of Denmark.
So now, witches were in Denmark. So he went to Denmark to get his wife, because why? His wife was meant to travel and meet him, but then she got shipwrecked. So King James said, you know what? I'm going to go get my wife myself. So he took his fleet of ships and went to go get his wife. That's lucky, go ahead.
Come on. Where the theory of a demonic pact had been widely accepted.
And in Denmark, they believe that what? Demons exist. Now, let me ask you a question. Do demons exist? Exactly. Demons definitely do exist. So the brothers in Denmark, they was right, man, for understanding that demons existed. They understood that all that necromancy and all the stuff that people do and people speaking to the dead and sorcery. They understood that it existed. So they was like, yo, we're going to rid them out of our kingdom. We're going to kill them. And they're trying to convince King James to do the same thing. So go ahead.
Come on. The Scottish king was apparently great.
So now, this was before King James was the king of England. But at this time, there was already a law in England called the Witchcraft Acts. So Henry VIII set up a law in England, which was called the Witchcraft Acts. So they was well aware of witchcraft back then. I believe he set up that law in maybe 15 something, whenever it was, maybe early 1500s. He set up the Witchcraft Act. Was it 1492? I can't remember. Might be 1592 or something around that. Something around there. So like, go ahead.
Come. The Scottish king was apparently greatly inspired by the Danish example.
And he was greatly inspired, man. So when you go around people, you learn certain things. He was inspired by what they taught him. They're teaching him, yo, to keep your kingdom clean, man, to get rid of the witches. It's like a man telling you, yo, you shouldn't have homosexuals in your kingdom, man. And you take heed to it. What's going to happen? You're going to come back and you're going to clean your kingdom. So that's what King James was trying to do. So go ahead.
Come.
Yes.
And it was during the visit that the seeds of his own witch hunt fervor were sown.
Go ahead.
James' pleasant sojourn in Denmark could not last forever, and with the onset of spring, he could no longer ignore the calls of his advisor. to return to Scotland.
So, you know, he took a long journey. It was time to come back home now, boy.
And bring order to the rebellious subjects.
And that's key as well, to bring order to the rebellious subjects. So some of the rebellious subjects is what? The ones that was practicing the witchcraft. So he came to bring order back to his rebellious subjects. And how did he bring order? With them witch hunts. Go ahead.
Who had made the most of his absence.
And they made the most of his absence, meaning when the king's gone, people do whatever they want. They think there's no order, and they start moving mad. Go ahead.
But despite the milder weather, the crossings was once more to prove difficult. The royal fleet was battered by violent storms, and one of the ships was lost. James immediately placed the blame on witches.
So now remember what James learned in Denmark from about the witches. So then, because his ships was battered, King James said, "Damn, I'm blaming these witches for battering the ships, man." So he placed the blame on witches. Always remember that King James wasn't in the truth. He was just like any regular Christian brother in the world. It was just like any regular Christian brother in the world that believes certain things they believe is right, and certain other things is far-fetched.
That's right.
So this one right here, him believing witches battered his ships, it's far-fetched. Go ahead.
Claiming that they must have cast evil spells upon his fleet.
So now he thought they casted evil spells upon his fleet. So now, even till this day, you speak to Christians, what do they say? People can put curses on you. People can, they read certain scriptures where Balaam was sent to curse Israel and whatnot. So now King James is like, yo, damn, they put a curse upon me. Go ahead.
Thenceforth, his fascination with witchcraft depended into a dangerous obsession.
So now they say his fascination with witchcraft, whereas they make it like he was fascinated with it on the left-hand side when he wasn't. He was fascinated with killing them. That's the difference. He was fascinated with getting rid of them out of his kingdom. Go ahead.
Witchcraft had been on the Scottish law books since 1563.
So now witchcraft was already in the Scottish law from 1563. So now if you know anything about medieval Europe, there was a thing called medieval witchcraft. So that was the time when witches started to come out of the woodworks. So like it word.
Gone. But until now, it had gone virtually unprosecuted.
Wait, it went what?
Virtually unprosecuted.
Until now, it went virtually unprosecuted. What does that part mean?
So like you said, it means that nobody was punished for it.
Exactly. So how are you saying that King James and all of these things got us to love witchcraft and whatnot? Whereas before King James, those people must have loved it because it went unprosecuted. Once King James heard about this, he started prosecuting witches, man. He started banishing them from his kingdom.
So what's the problem then? Why does regular history say King James was a witch? And then someone say, why? His own memoirs say it wasn't. What's the beef?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Well, it is. People haven't read the book. That's what it is. So people's read the title of the book and they see demonology and they say, see, King James wrote a book about getting us to believe in demons.
Oh.
And if you actually read the book, it's the complete opposite, man. It's about how do you punish witches for the crimes they commit. That's what the book's about. So anyone that says to you, King James got us to, because it will come. Someone that hates the Bible, they'll say, yo, King James believed in witches and King James, and all you say is, what about the trials that King James sat in? There's a woman called, was her name Agnes Sampson. They accused her of being a witch, man, and King James sat in the trial and he lost his mind in the trial, man. And he wanted her dead. So lucky, go ahead.
God.
Also, everyone that they accused of being a witch, not all of them was witches. What could happen is a man could have a horrible wife and they had a P.O. box in the church and you just write in there anonymously, yo, this woman's a witch, and you go post that letter in there, your wife's out the way. you women need to learn to watch him out before we bring the P.O. box back. Put your names in there. They'll put your name in that P.O. box and you'll be tried. And during them trials, they'll torture you, man. And there's a thing called thumb screws. I believe they would screw nails through your thumbs, and they'll torture you so bad that you would just admit to being a witch because it's easier to die. And then once you admit to being a witch, they would strangle you to death. That was part of the punishment. So they would beat like a confession out of you. So Lucky, go ahead.
God. God. All of that changed with James' return from Denmark. Fired up by the likes of Hemmingson and Brave. He was determined to introduce similarly.
Wait. He was determined to do what?
Introduce similarly.
So why are we mad at King James, man? King James said, I'm going to introduce punishments. I'm going to introduce punishments for witchcraft. Okay, go ahead.
Harsh measures.
Wait. King James said what?
Introduce similarly. Harsh measures.
So if King James was introducing harsh measures for witchcraft, why do people say King James was a witch? Wouldn't this go against him? Wouldn't he have to punish himself? King James was a man that was zealous of the law of God as best as he knew. Believe it or not, King James was actually zealous of the. King James actually quotes the Bible all the time, man. You see, once we get to Demonology, you're gonna see that King James was quoting the Bible, man. Quoting the Bible better than these fake Israelites, man.
That's right.
I see King James quoting the scriptures and saying, niggas breaking this shit down correct, man. I said, yo, King James had an insight into something the way he was breaking some things down, man. That's lucky, go ahead.
God. Similarly, harsh measures against witches.
Wait, harsh measures against who?
Against witches.
Listen, man, King James didn't like witches. People that say King James was a witch and King James was a Mason, all of that is slander. All of that comes from the Catholic Church. Because what we're reading right here is how King James didn't like witches. We're reading how King James introduced punishing witches to his country.
That's right.
Because it went unpunished before King James said, yo, we're going to punish them for their crimes. So anybody that's saying King James is a witch, they haven't read the book, man.
That's right.
Anyone that's saying anything evil about King James, they ain't read the records. In here, we've read all the records, man. We spent all night reading these books, man. Before, I used to hear King James was a witch. So I said, damn, let me read it, man. I said, let me read it. And I was waiting for the part where it says King James is a witch. Someone just showed me the part where it says, yeah, King James is a witch. I need King James to say himself that he's a witch. And you won't find it. So, go ahead, okay.
They said all types of things about him. You know what I mean? They also said he was a homo. You know what I mean? That, you know, that's untrue.
Listen, man, they say King James was a homosexual. What? King James, yeah? When his wife was in Denmark, the King James had a woman that was keeping his bed warm, man. I don't King James on the spot for his wife to find out. But listen, man, King James had women, man. There was a woman that she was keeping King James. This is what they call there, the bed warmer. They call there the bed warmer, man. You're saying King James was a homosexual now, man. That brother had women, man. Imagine this woman. King James knew that his ribs in Denmark. And he had one here, man. And they called her the bed warmer, but obviously back then, they weren't allowed to have multiple wives because obviously it was looked down upon by the church and so forth. So what did they, and this lets you know that what? All of them kings you find that had multiple wives, man. King James, Henry VIII. One day I'll do a whole class in it and I'll show you who their other wives was, man. Obviously, history will call them their mistresses, but according to the Bible, sex is marriage, so it was their wives. So, okay, go ahead.
Khan. Against witches in his native land.
And he said he's going to punish those witches in his native land. Go ahead.
His turbulent sea voyage presented him with the perfect opportunity, with bewildering speed, and hundreds suspected witches were arrested and examined, and their devilish plot.
So listen, if you believed in witchcraft, why did he call it a devilish plot? Why did he call it a devilish plot, man? That's what King James called it. He called it a devilish plot. Go ahead.
God. And their devilish plot to drown the Scottish king and his new wife was uncovered.
There you go. So he said, yo, these witches plotted to drown me and my rib. Let me go to the next one. Anyone able to read that one?
Give me a minute to them.
That's probably
That's it, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. You get the book, it's more easier. 2 seconds at the page.
Let me find it.
Wait. No, soon after James and Anne.
Hold on, baby.
That's it, I'll find it.
I think it's page 33. Let me check. Yeah, it's page 33.
No, sir. Khan. Page 33. Soon after James and Anne's departure, An investigation had been launched into why his first attempt to embark for Scotland had failed.
So now, King James, an investigation was opened because once the ship sank, they wanted to know, what was the ship's what was the ships kept correct? Was the ships in order and so forth? And then one man that didn't want to take the blame, who was in charge of the ships, he knew, this is a big cock up, because if the king would have died, he knew that he would have died. He knew that he would have died if King James found that he didn't take care of the ships. So what did this man do? This man blamed it on witches. He said to King James, some witches, man, there's some witches coming out of the water. And then that fueled King James to even start killing more witches. That's lucky, go ahead.
Khan. Peter Monk, the admiral of the fleet, was questioned by the authorities. He was quick to deflect the blame on the Copenhagen governors. Christopher.
So now there was a known witch in Copenhagen. I think her name might have been, I can't remember what her name was. This might be Agnes Sampson. It was one of them. They had a witch in Copenhagen, a big witch. So they went to inquire from her, you tried to kill the king. That's what it was.
Khan. Christopher Valkendorf, for failing to keep the navy in order, and took his complaint to Denmark Supreme Court.
So now this man, they blamed him for not keeping the ships in order. He took his complaint to Denmark Court and blamed the witches.
Khan. The letter found in favor to Valkendorf was declared that gales had been the cause of the fleet's aborted voyage. However, the governor pointed out that these gales have been generated not by nature but by witchcraft. So now they took it to court. They said it was generated not by nature but by witchcraft. God. At around the same time, an English spy in Copenhagen reported that Monk have generated 5 or 6 witches to be taken Copenhagen upon suspicion that by their witchcraft they had stained the Queen of Scots' voyage into Scotland. So now, obviously, they're going through court and everyone's passing the blame. This man don't want to be blamed for the ships. So he's blaming it on demons and witches. He's saying someone cast a spell which almost caused the king's ship to sink with him and his rib on there. Okay, go ahead. Gone. And sought to have stayed likewise the king's return. The threat of implementation of torture was used to wring confessions. So now with these witches, they used to punish them, they used to torture them. They had a thing called thumb screws. They had the next thing where they would pin them to the wall by their mouth. They had the next thing where they would deprive them of sleep for days. So they wouldn't let them sleep. And all of this was done to get a confession. Back then, there was a thing called a witch's mark. They would shave all your head, all your body. They would shave everything and they would look for like a birthmark. Yes. And then that would be called the witch's mark. So what we would call from that is the witch's mark. If they found the birthmark, and then you would be considered a witch. Now there was some men that took it up as a job to be witch hunters, and that job would pay 4 times the normal wage. So what they would do is any prosecution would get paid. So they would have like a needle, and would have a retracting needle. They would pin you with this retracting needle, and if you don't feel it, you're a witch. The reason you wouldn't feel it is because they used the retracting needle. So they learned that to get paid. So they started to do little scams to get paid. So they would do all of those kind of things. So then that's why in the next book, The Discovery of Witchcraft with Reginald Scott, he was like, look, man, all these, they're not witches, it's sleight of hand. So he was like, all these tricks is sleight of hand. So all these tricks that you see them do today, he broke the whole thing down in a book years ago in like the 1500s of how to do the tricks, how to put needles between their eyes and so forth, how to put a needle between a rat's eyes and it don't die. So there was a trick that they would do back then. They would put like needles in between a rat's eyes and take the needle out, and then the rat wouldn't die. But guess what? The rat will die 2 days later when you've gone home. So they would die in the end. But all these tricks, they would do all of those kind of things. That's lucky, go ahead. Khan. Out of all the women who admitted to sending demons to climb aboard and ship and put it under the waves. So now these women started admitting to these things because of the torture. They claimed, they put these under the waves. Go ahead. They were sentenced to death. They were what? Sentenced to death. Listen, man, King James sentenced them to death.
Now, was the brother in the truth? No. So obviously the confessions, what they done, it went. These women just confessed because dying was easier than the torture. But the whole point is, if King James loved witches like people claim, he would have made them live. He would have made them live, and guess what he would have done? He would have went to these witches to perform works for him. Show them where King James went to them and let them perform works for him.
That's right.
That's what I need to see. And then I say, okay, so I can go ahead.
Gone. Meanwhile, in Scotland, the first to confess was a young woman named Gilly.
So this is the first witch that confessed. Go ahead.
Gilly Duncan, a servant in the house of David Seaton, deputy bailiff of the small town of Trenant, on the shores of the Firth of Forth, about 9 miles east of Edinburgh. She had recently gained renown for her skill in curing diseases.
So now this lady, she gained a reputation for curing diseases. And now if you go to these witch doctors today, what do they tell you to cure diseases? These witch doctors tell you to cure diseases. They tell you they can make you fall in love. They tell you they can bring your partner back. So the same kind of things that they was experiencing back then is the same kind of things that people do now. Some people believe that they have the power to do these things. Some people believe that they don't.
So like you said, are you saying that that correlates with the Bible when it says drug dealer is a witch? Does that correlate, like, you know, the falling in love that could be using ecstasy, or, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so the witch actually is someone that is putting the things together to make somebody feel a certain way. So that is the same as what we're talking about in the scriptures when it says a drug dealer is a witch.
Yes, but just remember that their definition of a witch is a lady with a hunchback and a crooked nose that flies in a broom, whereas a witch is just someone that mixes up all these potions and drugs and changes his state of mind and so forth, gives you ecstasy and all of these tablets and these pills and all of those kind of things. So that's what a witch is. That's what a real witch is.
And Salakia, and that's what this woman is admitting to. This lady here, she's admitted to being a witch because she you know, she's saying she can make people heal people, make them feel good, and she's just basically mixing up potions, right? Or mixing up kind of, you know, drugs.
Yes, but with her, it didn't say that she was doing it in like an evil way. But they said she was known for curing or whatever. So back then they'd be like, well, this lady's healing them with the power of sorcery or whatever. So that's how they would look at it back then. They would look at it like healing them with the power of sorcery. So then they would accuse her of being a witch. But what a witch was back then and what a witch became, obviously it became someone flying on brooms and turning into cats and wearing the big hat and so forth. But hopefully we got time to get into that later, because obviously the way they've designed the witch is slanderous. So basically those women called the Creslettes, they used to preach and they used to wear hats, and they used to be reprobates against the church. So that whole big hat that they wear, that became like the witch hat. And then they never used to like Jews. So that whole crooked nose that witches have comes from them mocking Jewish people. So that's why witches look like Jewish people. I don't know if you've noticed that whole hat. Have you noticed it? The whole nose.
Now that you see it.
So witches, obviously they never used to like Jews. Obviously those Jewish people, those banned from England for like the 1600s, man. Black men banned them from England, man. So lucky we'll get that in a week or two. But so lucky, go ahead.
Khan. So the brother question as well.
Oh, so lucky, go ahead.
Sorry, I just listened to the brother.
Oh, was that what you wanted as well?
Nah, it just
go ahead. What's you gonna say?
No, I was just saying. So I was just saying about, you know, what you said about drug dealers, cinema, druids, and so sort of thing.
Yeah.
Men witches.
Yeah. So your drug dealers today, that's what a witch is. But they don't know it. They think, I'm a trapper. They've gave it nice names now. They've gave a witch a nice name, like, I'm a trapper, not realizing, go back 300-400 years ago, this was your witches that would have been killed. Back then, there was also male witches. Male witches used to get killed too, but it was like 20 to 1. They would have 20 women to 1 male witch, so forth.
And Salakia, sir.
Question online as well. So it says, Lucky, was it male witches too? You answered this.
Oh yeah, there was male witches too, but there was more female witches than male witches. But there was loads of men that got put to death for witchcraft also. So there was both of them. But over time they changed it, and a man became what, a wizard.
Oh, warlock, yeah.
Yeah, or warlock. A man became the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is male, right? Is it male?
Yeah.
I've never watched that nonsense in my life. So yeah, there was male witches too. So Lucky, go ahead.
Salakia, sir. And also they make films about witches being killed, like in the old English days, and them doing sorcery and them doing this, that, and the third. But they never really give you the like what you're giving us today, the real understanding of what a witch meant back then and now. They turn it into some fantasy, don't they? Right now, like I said,
they turn it into a movie, and then now witches. I don't know if anyone's ever seen witches' shoes where they bend up. Have you seen them curly shoes bend up? The reason you see witches wearing those shoes in cartoons and so forth is because back then those shoes was the in thing, and everyone who wore those shoes, the Christians believed if you wear these shoes, well, those shoes bend up, so you can't bend down to pray. So they was like, oh yeah, they're wearing them shoes because of the witches. So that's how they came up with the whole outfit. They came up with the whole black cloak because that was just the modern attire at the time. They came up with the hat because why they didn't like these women called the Questlets that used to wear big hats. So that became the witch hat and the nose and so forth. And and because they used to accuse old women of being witches, they used to always accuse old women of being witches. This is why all witches have wrinkles, if you've noticed. All witches have wrinkles in the cartoons and stuff. Old. It's because they always used to accuse old women of being witches. Also, they used to accuse older women that are single of being witches, man. They say, oh, she must be a witch, man. She got no man. You sisters get you a man, man. Back then, you would have had to get a man. You would have had to fall upon a man. You know why? Because if you had no man, they would probably have thought you was a witch, man. You would have them thumb screws and the whole lot on. But that right there is how to get the whole witch's outfit. And then there was in folklore. What's that witch's name in folklore? Witch. What is her name now? I know she's called the Witch of York. The Witch of York. Apparently, she lived in a cave, and then that's why witches have hunchbacks, because they made her an old woman that lived in a cave with a hunchback. So that's how they get the whole witch in the outfit. So like, you go ahead.
Lucky, so also, if I may, sir, where does the broomstick come from? I don't know if you mentioned it or I missed it. Lucky.
All right, so the broomstick that comes from, like, they used to tie like little sheaths to a stick, and they used to always be sweeping things out the way. And then over time, one time a man said, I saw one of the ladies. No. But yeah, one time a man said that I saw one of the ladies with a broom. And then what used to happen is, I believe it might be the Wiccans or one of them, when it was harvest time, they used to have the sheaf on the stick, and they used to put the broom between their legs and used to dance and jump in the air. And that was in reverence to their god, and then that became how witches fly around on brooms. Because they used to put it between their legs and jump up and down on the broom in the field.
Right.
So over time, a man said, yes, one of the witches jumping on the broom. And then over time, that became how witches transport in night on brooms.
Right. These people are, boy, God, the ones appreciate it.
No, sir.
Still do that nonsense. Hey, man, go up into the woods, touch magic mushrooms. Still that.
Yeah, man. That's where it all comes from. So before it was a broom, what's that thing? It's called a sheaf, right? Where you get, is it a sheaf? It's like a bundle. What's it called now? It's like it might be a bundle of sticks that they tie to a pole, and that's where the whole broom comes from.
Oh, the wicked, the burn thing.
Nah, it looks like that, but they tied it to a stick, and then they used to jump on it between their legs, and then that's where the whole flying on the broom comes from. So so they added that also to the witches. So that's just how they dress, the nose, the hat, the cloak, the shoes. So that's how our witch looks like that today because of all of that. So I can go ahead. So I can say that again, I can. Yeah, Mother Shipton was the hunchback witch, the witch of York. That's see, look at the hat and the nose. See how she looks like a Jewish man. See, so that's Mother Shipton. So now they call her the Witch of York because apparently she lived in a cave in York. This is her. You see how she's got the Jewish man's nose? Because obviously they never used to like Jews back then, so the whole slander. So then they gave the nose to the witch and so forth. And then all these hats comes from Greeks would make people wear a little hat. So all these hats over time, that's why people wear these graduation hats and these kind of hats and so forth.
With
this one here?
Yeah.
For the bracket, that's the Queen of York. So lucky. Go ahead.
You done, yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Khan. Her master's suspicion was further aroused when he discovered that she was secretly leaving his house every other night.
Wait, she was what?
Secretly leaving his house every other night.
So now they used to believe that these witches used to leave the house at night and go and meet the devil and have sex with him. That's what used to believe. So then that lady that we just pulled up, they claimed that she didn't have no father, so they claimed that she was a child of Lucifer's. Listen, the whole folklore, you end up going down the rabbit. Let's move on for time's sake, because I've read too much things in my time, so lucky. Go ahead.
God.
You end up. So yeah, all of that was folklore. Some people say it was real, some people say it was folklore.
Together with some of his acquaintances, he interrogated Gilly and subjected her to grievous torture, which included the use of pillywinks, a device similar to thumb screws.
So now the thumb screws would take your nails off and dig something into your nails, and you would just confess because you can't take the pain. And then they'll be like, yep, she confessed to being a witch, we can kill her, she's a witch. Now if you don't confess, they'll just keep torturing you. Go ahead.
God. Gilly subsequently made a full confession. According to her testimony, she had been part of an extensive network of witches. The names of 70 conspirators are listed in the records who had plotted the king's death.
So now, this is the whole backdrop before he wrote Demonology. So he wrote it after these events took place. So these events took place, and King James was like, damn, they really tried to kill me. So okay, go ahead.
And that of his new bride. They included Agnes Sampson.
So Agnes Sampson is the one that he took to trial. Go ahead.
Described as a woman not of the base and ignorant sort of witches, but matron-like, grave, and settled in her answers. She confessed that All Hallows Eve was accomplished.
So now you see how you celebrate Halloween today and so forth. If you done that in that time, you would be considered a witch and killed, man.
That's crazy. So Hallows Eve is Halloween before it transformed to Halloween.
Yeah.
It's mad because they say, get some sweets and dress up as this, that.
Mm-hmm.
When back in the day, you did that, it cost you life.
Exactly. You did that,
So-
you're a witch. Okay, go on, okay.
So lucky. So when did, I mean, I don't know if you know, but why was it accepted? I mean, now as a holiday that should be, the kids should go, like Captain said, kids going around and trick or treating and all those type of things. Why? I mean, why did it get? Is that the question? Why did it get accepted? Yeah,
Black people are calling normal. That's why, because black people are
It's like
calling
it?
normal.
It's like it. All right, con, sir. Right.
So now,
right.
over time, something that was taboo back then, over time, it just becomes the norm. So now, this was considered All Hallows Eve was a Celtic festival. It was all a Celtic festival back then. So then they would do it. No one would get punished for it. And then once King James kind of started to understand that, well, I think witches tried to kill him, all of that stuff was banished from wherever he was ruling. Because why back then they was petrified of demons and so forth. And they was like, yo, we need to rid our kingdom of them. That's lucky. Was there anyone that we can skip to the next slide?
Could do. When there's more of it though, but if you feature it.
Yeah. What time is it? Yeah, I might have to skip. Tons of slides. Hold on. This right here just tells you about how they tossed the cat into the sea, and this is how. Get me from. Can someone pull it from where it says King James himself presided over the interrogation?
What page it is?
Hold on, let me check. It might be try page.
You won't see.
Try page 34 or 35.
Okay, page 34. King James himself presided over the interrogation of Agnes Sampson at Holyrood House in Edinburgh.
So now King James presided over the interrogation, man. Now, if King James liked witches, he wouldn't interrogate her, man. Could have let her live. Okay, go ahead.
When she stood stiffly in denial of the charges against her, she had all her hair shaved off in each part of her body, and her head thrown, wrenched with a rope, according to the custom of the country, being a pain most grievous.
Oh, that must have hurt, man. Damn.
All of this continued for an hour, while the king looked on with great delight.
Looked on with what?
With great delight.
Listen, man, if King James like witches, why is he delightful that these men are torturing the woman that's considered a witch, man? Why is he watching on in great delight? He would have said, nah, leave her, man, I like these witches. King James didn't say that. So, okay, go ahead.
Then followed the most dramatic moment of the interrogation, when James, responding to something that Agnes had said, leapt up in fury and declared her a liar.
He did. See, King James jumped up, man, and declared her a liar. She's saying, I'm not a witch. King James jumped up and said, hell yeah, you are a witch, man. King James jumped up and said, yes, you are. So, go ahead.
But she calmly took him to the side and convinced him of her magical powers by telling him certain secret matters.
So now King James had certain secret matters that only him and his rib knew. And this woman took him to the side and told him some of his own secrets. So he's wondering how does she know this? That's lucky word.
That had passed him between him and his new wife on their wedding night. Whether she made a calculated guess or had genuine psychic ability, James was astounded at her revelation. That King's Majesty wondered greatly and swear by the living God that he believes all the devils in hell could not have discovered the same, acknowledging her words to be the most true, and therefore gave the more credit to the rest that is before declared. He immediately ordered that the torture must stop, for he was now convinced she was telling the truth. This had no doubt been the purpose of Agnes' audacious ploy. Even the prospect of death was more welcome than the prolonged agony and humiliation of torture. Although she escaped the horror of burning, which a number of her co-conspirators had suffered, her fate was hardly less appalling. She had taken the castle.
So people think King James spared this witch, but keep reading.
She was taken to Castle Hill in Edinburgh and bound to a stake, then strangled until she was dead.
Wait, what happened to her?
Strangled until she was dead.
She told King James some of his secrets, and King James was like, yo, stop the torture. And she thought she was going to live. Everybody else thought, yeah, she was going to become King James' personal witch. What did King James do? Had her strangled to death, man.
That's right.
King James went into the witchcraft. Don't let nobody lie to you, man. When we read the first few lines, it sounds like King James liked the witches, but now, man, he had her strangled. So, okay, go ahead.
Khan. Her remains were burned to ashes.
Her what?
Remains were burned to ashes.
King James was burning these witches to ashes, man. Go ahead.
Barbara Napier, another woman who was implicated in the case, was rather more fortunate, as the crowds gathered to witness her execution on May 1591. Her friends made the claim that she was pregnant. This was enough to bring proceedings to a halt until such time as it could be proved whether Barbara really was in this condition. The jury refused to find her guilty of treason on the grounds that there was insufficient evidence.
So now some people will be tried, some people will be no evidence. Go ahead.
God. When he heard of this, James was so enraged that he called a new trial against her.
Listen, James was mad as hell, man. He goes, yo, you didn't find her guilty of being a witch? James said, nah, man. He called a retrial. Go ahead.
Against her, and began legal proceedings against the jury members themselves.
And then he began legal proceedings against the jury in the court, man. Because he's saying, yo, you ain't doing the thing right. King James went for the witches, man. Why do you think he called it a retrial? Why do you think he was mad at his own juries? Okay, go ahead.
God. He instructed his agents by the mediciners, oath if Barbara be with Baron or not. Take no delaying answer. If you find she be not, to the fire with her presently, adding that she should first be disemboweled, so that the crowds might see that she had not been with child.
Listen, man, he goes, she should be disemboweled, but does that mean to take all your bowels out and that? Go ahead.
This is no record of Barbara ever having been executed. So either she was pregnant, and by the time she gave birth, the king's wrath had cooled, or his advisors persuaded him that, legally speaking, he was on shaky ground. The affair ranked with James.
So they was like to James, yo, you gotta calm down, and you're moving mad right now because he's just trying to kill everyone. So there was no record of her being executed. So maybe because the first jury said, yo, she's not guilty, they probably just let her slide with it. Let me quickly go to the next one. Are you able to? So now this right here, go ahead.
You know these these jurors, are they black people?
I wouldn't know because there's no name of the jurors that was working on the trials.
Oh,
So,
right, okay, can't.
You know who the jurors was at the time.
All right, Salaki, Tuado.
So now this right here is from the discovery of witchcraft. This is a man called Reginald Scott. So Reginald Scott, he was a man who wanted the witches to live. So he tells you like, yo man, use like leave them, man. They're just heretics. Don't kill them or whatnot. Is anyone able to read that? See if you can put that on the screen. See if anyone can read that. Are you able to read that? Anyone able to read that one?
Canada on council.
Yeah, go ahead.
Starting from the first paragraph, or just where?
That the first one. The highlighted parts.
Canada on council. And in the deceit of the judges who being inquisitors.
Scott was a man that used to write to the courts because he didn't like the witch hunts. He used to write to the courts and say, yo, these people are only killing these people because they know to get paid for it. Stop killing the witches, man. Let them live. All they're doing is sleight of hand. All they're doing is magic tricks. They're not real witches. Leave them, let them live. So he was for the witches. So his book right here is why after King James wrote Demonology. So tons of people's writing books. So King James wrote his book to react to other people's books, if you get what I mean. So this man was writing why you killing the witches, don't kill the witches. King James in his book wrote why he's killing the witches.
Salaki, sir. Was this man an Edomite?
I wouldn't know.
Can't.
I've not come across no. While it is, he ain't really important like that for anyone to write a book about his complexion or whatnot.
Yeah, so Salaki, the reason I asked, sir, is because that's how Edomites act for each other. You know, trying to cover each other and save each other. Where King James is coming in and he's just tearing up everything like Christ in the temple. He's just enforcing the law and making sure these people ain't doing what they're not supposed to be doing. But these other people look like they're just trying to back each other, kind of thing. Like, you know, when Edomites do wrong, their peers and their friends kind of back them up. You know, like you say, sleight of hand, leave them, let them just, you know what I mean, let them live. Or, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to know if it was an Edomite. It's like it, sir.
Yeah, no, sir. No, I don't know what, but while it is, I've not come across. While it is, it's not important enough to get me for them to even mention who he is. He's just a man that wrote a book. He's just a man that wrote a book exposing all the magic tricks. So people still use the book to this day to learn how to do certain tricks.
Right.
So I can go ahead, man.
Canada one can. And in the deceit of the judges who being inquisitors themselves against heretics and witches.
Because he's saying, yo, the judges don't like witches, so the trials ain't fair. Go ahead.
Did both accuse and condemn them, having for their labor the spoil of their goods.
So they go, yo, you're killing them and you're taking the spoil of their goods. Because why? If somebody had land and you could prove that there was a witch, their land, you could get the land. Don't give their land to somebody else. So everyone that was trying to get money was calling everyone a witch back then. Because back then, this is medieval when everyone was considered a witch back then. Go ahead.
So as these inquisitors added many fables hereunto, lest they should seem to have done injury to the poor witches.
This man calls it fables because he don't want the witches to get punished. Go ahead.
In condemning and executing them for non-offense.
See, and he goes, you're executing them for non-offense. So this man wanted the witches to live, Meanwhile, the brothers hunting them didn't. Go ahead.
But saith he, the springing up of Luther's sect, these priests have tended more diligent upon the execution of them, because more wealth is to be caught from them.
So now this man's basically talking about these people are just killing the witches because they want the wealth. Give me the next paragraph.
Canada one cancer. With witches, through distrust of gains, that all is seem to be malice, folly, or adversary that has become practiced against them. And whosoever shall search into this case or read the chief writers hereupon shall find his words true. It will be objected that we here in England are not now directed by the Pope's laws.
So now he goes in England, we're not directed by the Pope's laws. Because why? The Pope put out a decree, and the decree was get busy with them witch hunts. So this man here is saying, yo, we're not under the Pope's laws in England. Why are they not under the Pope's laws in England? Let's see who
Lucky, can you ask that question? Is that a question, sir?
Hold on one second. Let me let the brother get it in the room first. Go ahead.
Oh, Lucky.
Give him a hand. The brother said Henry the Eighth switched up, which is true, man. So that's why they're not under the Pope's law in England. Why? Because Henry the Eighth broke away from the Catholic Church. So now this man here is trying to say, yo, we don't need to do what the Pope's doing. The Pope's killing the witches. He's saying in England we don't need to do that because we're not under the Pope's laws. Go ahead. Actually, let me read it from his. He says, and so by consequence, our witch is not troubled. So this man was mad that was killing witches. He's saying, yo, we're in England.
By consequence, our witches
He's saying we don't need to kill the witches because in England, we're not under the law that the Pope's passed out that you must kill the witches. Next slide. Go ahead. So this is the law that the Pope passed. It's called Pope Innocent the Eighth. Anyone able to see that?
The beginning of serious official action against witches was signaled by a papal bull issued in December 1484 by Pope Innocent the 5, 6, 7, 8th. Is that right? 8th?
Pope Innocent the 8th passed the decree like, yo, we're not going to deal with these witches. And then that's why Reginald Scott was like, yo, we ain't under the law of the Pope, so don't trouble the witches. So if you want to be mad at someone and say that they let witches live, you need to be mad at Reginald Scott. Don't be mad at King James. King James was the opposite, man. Reginald wanted to let them live. King James wanted to execute them. Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. The bull, which was widely printed and circulated, decreed those who had abused themselves with devils, incubi.
So they call it abusing yourself with devils. Why? Because they believe that, yo, if you're into all that demon stuff and witchcraft and sorcery, you abused yourself with devils. Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. Incubi and succubi.
Name of some of the spirits that were calling back then. Go ahead.
And by their incantations, spells, conjurations, and other accursed.
Conjuring, what were the potions in that? The conjuring or whatever. So the Pope back then was against these things also. Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. Superstitions and women and the young Salakia, superstitions and horrid charms, enormites and offenses destroy the offspring of women and the young of cattle, blast and
so there was like these witches destroy children and cattle and so forth. Go ahead.
And eradicate the fruits of
hold on, wait, let me see
the earth.
Jump down to the next paragraph actually for time. Give me the next one.
Kadawan Khan.
Wait, let me just.
the-
It says an ordained inquisition into and punishment, correction, and improvement of such excess crimes and misdeeds. Give me the second paragraph, Hakan.
Kadawan Khan. The significance of the bull was that it declared that witchcraft was heresy.
So now these are like witchcraft to consider it heresy. Go ahead.
Until then, witches had been viewed merely as magicians.
Before this would view them as magicians, to say, yeah, these are just magicians. So they would let them get away with it. They would let David Blaine and them do all their thing. Until one day King James and them came up and said, no more David Blaines, man. you had to find a real job, man. There was no more going around doing that stuff. So I could go ahead.
Kadawan Khan. But like where is it? Who could command special powers to do good or evil?
Go ahead.
But now they were condemned as devil worshippers.
So now before it was magicians, and then over time the Pope understood them. They ain't just magicians; these are devil worshippers. So they believed that they was using the power of Satan to carry out all these things that they do. They even had a thing called the Black Sabbath. You had the Black Sabbath where witches go to the coven. The Black Sabbath. That's what they call it. The witches in the nighttime go to the Black Sabbath to fly there on their broom, and they all gather in the Black Sabbath. And Satan comes down and tells them what to do, and they have sex with him to get more power. Then they come back and start harming. That's what they used to believe in medieval England. So I can go ahead.
Kadawan Khan, who had rejected God and the church, which must not be left unpunished.
And because they rejected God and the church, and they can't be left unpunished. Go ahead.
Salakia, who had rejected God and the Christian faith, Salakia, in order to serve Satan.
In order to serve Satan, go ahead.
This was a crime against the church, which must not be left unpunished.
And even they understood, they said, this was a crime which should not be left unpunished. Go ahead.
This was a crime against the church, which must not be unpunished. It was easy to justify this, thanks to the various references within the Bible.
So now they learned these references from the Bible. Go ahead.
To the importance of doing away with sorcery of all kinds.
Go ahead.
The fact that the Bible appeared to sanction the persecution of witches gave enormous power to those who sought to eradicate them.
The Bible sanctions the persecution of witches. So why do you think the Pope and King James was killing witches? Because they read in the Bible that you're not supposed to allow witches.
That's right.
So it sounds like King James was following the Bible to me.
Right.
Sounds like King James was of God to me. Sounds like Pope Innocent the Eighth. Now this was before the Pope became an Edomite and so forth. This was during the Dark Ages. This Pope here, 1484. So I can go ahead, next slide. Yeah, so now this is, give me this one. This is Reginald Scott. This man was crying for the witches, man. So I can go ahead.
Women suspected to be witches after their apprehension may not be suffered to go home or other places to seek sureties for them, saith Bowden. The people would be who's willing to accuse them for fear, lest at their return home they work revenge unto them, in which respect Bowden committeth much the Scottish custom and order in his behalf, where he saith, a hollow piece of wood or a chest is placed in the church until the witch and anybody may feel cast a little scroll of paper wherein may.
So this man is basically trying to say, yo, leave the witches alone. They ain't got the amount of power you are giving them. So I can go ahead.
To be contained the name of the witch. Sorry, no English, man.
It's old English, isn't it?
The time, place, and fact, and the same chest being locked with several locks is open every 15th day.
So now this was the P.O. box in the church where you'd put your letters in and the box was open every 15 days. So if you're a woman, just know after 15 days when that box is open, you could be on witchcraft charges. So I can go ahead.
Every 15th day by 3 inquisitors of officers appointed for that purpose, which keep 3 several keys, and thus the accusers need not to be known, nor shamed with reproach or slander or malice.
So this man saying, yo, the neighbors could be, it could just be slander or malice to why they want this person punished. Go ahead.
To his poor neighbor. Item. There must be great persecution used to all men, men, women, and children to accuse old women.
So he's saying people are persuading these women and children to persuade them to say an old woman's a witch. So this man was upset that he was accusing old women of being witches. This is where the whole wrinkles on witches comes from, because a lot of old women was accused of being witches. That's why old women look like grandmas, or do they not? No, witches. That's why witches look like grandmas. The whole hunchback. Have you noticed the whole hunchback? The whole pot where they're mixing in, like that certain witch pot. Apparently, they said women used to cook their dinner in those pots or whatever. So that's why that became the witch pot that witches use. You know, the big black witch pot. So that's how that became the pot that they use. Hold on, let me go to the next one. Yeah, give me this one. This one. Can you see that?
Go ahead, when the to get that too.
Can anyone see that online?
Karawakan.
Go ahead, work it out.
Karawakan. The fables of witchcraft have taken so fast hold and deep root.
So now this man began getting mad at everyone that was doing witch hunts. He said it's fables, it's not true. So he goes, yo, it's taking hold. So he's trying to say, yo, you don't believe in God. You give these witches too much credit and power. So I can go ahead.
Karawakan. And deep root in the heart of man, that few or none can nowadays with patience endure the hand and correction of God. For if any adversity, grief, sickness, loss of children, corn, cattle.
So they blamed all of these things on witches. He's trying to say, yo, the witches don't have that power. This comes from God. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Or liberty happen unto them by Salakia. By they exclaim upon witches, as though there were no God in Israel that ordered all things.
He's trying to say you not believe in these demons and these witches more than you believe in God. So if you look at both of them had points to what they believed, but they just couldn't agree. Go ahead.
Karawakan, as though there were no God in Israel that ordered all things according to his will, punishing both just and unjust, but that certain old women here on earth called witches must needs be that contrivers of all men's calamities.
So he's saying, yo, these can't be the reason for men's whole problem. Go ahead.
Karawakan. And as though they themselves were innocents and had deserved no such punishments.
So he's saying, yo, these women deserve no such punishments. Maybe some of them wasn't witches, maybe some of them didn't, maybe some of them did. Go ahead.
Karawakan. In so much as they stick not to ride to be accounted, seeking at their hands comfort and remedy in time of their tribulation, contrary to God's will and commandment in that behalf, who bids us resort to him in all our necessities.
Go ahead.
Karawakan. Such faithless people, I say,
yo, you like faithless, man. Go ahead.
Karawakan, are also persuaded, Salakia, that neither hail nor snow, thunder or lightning, rain nor tempestuous winds come
so
from
now it's documented that obviously King James read this book. So why would King James be mad at reading this?
Oh, go ahead. Because King James saying the witches made the ships. Yeah, this man saying, nah, man, nature did the shit.
That's it, yeah.
Disrespect.
Yeah, so King James must be reading this like, yo, who does this nigga think he is? So he's reading this. This man saying, yo, you like got no faith. You're blaming it on witches, and then he's saying, yo, it's the work of God why the ships was sinking and whatnot. So then, this book was written before King James wrote Demonology. So Demonology King James wrote it between two philosophers. He wrote it like a question and answers. He wrote it like one man saying something to one man and one man's questioning. So what if we do A, what happens with B? So that's what it's wrote. That's why it's wrote like that. I believe the names is Philomonus and whatever the other name is. So he wrote Demonology like that. But Salaki, go ahead.
Karawakan. Salaki, winds come from the heavens at the commandment of God, but are raised by the cunning and power of witches and conjurers.
So this man is basically which side are you on? This man's side or King James?
Right, this man's side,
Yeah, this man makes more. It makes a little bit more sense.
King James is his mind, man.
Yeah, King James is mad killing everything. But they both got points, because one is King James is saying, yo, the magicians are witches and demons, which is true, because they're doing sorcery. This man's trying to say they're not, but this man's saying these witches didn't sink the ship. This comes from God, which is true. So King James is saying the witches sunk the ship. So they're both writing on different things, if you get what I mean. And this is why you need the ISUPK who's right on everything.
That's right.
We can be the judge who's right on everything, man. But you gotta remember, these brothers was in the world, there was Christians, they done things as best as they could. That's lucky, go ahead.
Karawakan. In so much as a clap of thunder or a gale of wind is no sooner heard, but either they run to ring bells or cry out to burn witches.
So he's saying, yo, you don't want to burn people because there was a storm and they blamed on the witches, saying you want to burn them for that, go ahead.
Karawakan. Or else burn consecrated things, hoping by the smoke thereof to drive the devil out of the air.
Oh yeah, and also these during medieval Europe, they used to believe that witches could transform and become air and so forth. So they used to believe that they could make themselves small and become air. Why? Because they read in the scripture where it says that Satan's what, the prince of the air. So they read that, and obviously their lack of understanding, they believe that these demons can become air, and that's why they trouble the wind, if you get what I mean. So that's why they believe they trouble the air, the storms, because they believe Satan's the prince of the air, and that's why he can trouble the air, the winds. So you put him. Oh, I thought you had the hand.
Okay, sir.
Go ahead.
So okay, sir, I think it's trying to, if I'm understanding it properly, it's saying that they were maybe burning sage or some sort of incense to clear the air of the spirits.
Yeah, and he's basically thinking, yo, this like this don't work. But what you have to remember is what they believe back then is still what people believe today. So people believe that demons can enter in your house, and how do you get demons out of your house? With sage. They believe you get demons out of your house with sage and so forth. They believe that demons do all of those kind of stuff. So this man here, he kind of wasn't falling for it. He was more like, yo, they're just magicians, man. It's just sleight of hand. So if you did ever read the book, you would see that it tells you how to do the card tricks, all of them weird things. So he was like, yo, look, man, it's just trickery. He was like, yo, they're pretending to be witches because they're getting paid off it. So then when King James writes his Demonology, you'll see like the flip side of what they were saying. Let me skip this one for time sake. Yeah, go ahead. So now, this is when King James began to write his Demonology. Yeah, go ahead.
The following year, James VI became the only monarch in history to publish a treatise on witchcraft. The book was the result of painstaking and meticulous work on James' part. It must have taken years to complete. Early versions of the manuscript still survive and show more than 100 amendments made by the king's own hand.
So now this has been like we ain't even got to King James's Demonology yet. We just give the other books in the backdrop, but now this is when King James began to write Demonology. Go ahead.
Karawakan. The finished version, Demonology, literally the science of demons, was an 80-page quarto.
That's what Demonology meant, the science of demons. So in this book, King James will tell you about the spirits, how they work, what they do. The science of demons, that's what it means. Go ahead.
Karawakan. was an 80-page quarto which went through several editions and was later translated into Latin, French, and Dutch. Although lacking in original or profound ideas, the fact that it had been written by a king
Original or profound ideas, why? Because what King James was writing down, it wasn't his ideas. This is things that he learned in Denmark and from other previous books. His book was just the most famous. Why? Because he was a king. So his book was the most famous out of all those people that used to write these type of books. Go ahead.
Kawakan. The fact that it had been written by a king made it enormously influential.
So it became influential because it was written by a king. But over time, people lost the meaning of what demonology even meant. So now, if you look on the internet, they'll tell you King James got you to believe in demons. King James got you to worship Lucifer. King James got you to do this. And so far, we ain't read that King James got anybody to do that. So okay, go ahead.
Karawakan. The book masqueraded as an intellectual debate on the likelihood of the existence of witches.
So that's what the book's about. It's like a debate between two men, but King James is writing for both of the men. So King James has wrote it in a way where one man asks a question, the other man answers the question. So he's wrote it in that way. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Being written as a dialogue between two educated and informed men. But it was clear that the Scottish king was already a devout believer.
The Scottish king was already a devout believer. A devout believer in what? He was a devout believer in Christianity, man. That's what he was a devout believer in. Why do you think he was killing the witches? Go ahead.
Karawakan. In the preface, he declared that he wishes to convince the doubling hearts of many that the assaults of Satan are most certainly practiced. He spoke of the fearful abounding at this time in this country of these detestable slaves of the devil, the witches or enchanters.
Of the devil. So if you was a witch, King James called you a slave. This is in Demonology. He called you a slave of the devil. Go ahead.
Karawakan. And accused those who had attempted to disprove their existence as being of that profession.
And people that said demons don't exist, he started saying, yo, what's wrong with you? Because why? King James even said, yo, the Sadducees said spirits don't exist also. King James was saying, yo, now, one it is, witches do exist, but not in the form that they thought they exist, if you get what I mean. So they do exist, but not as crazy as how these lot thought they existed, but they do exist. So he's right, and the other one is also right at the same time. But one is they had no middle ground. So okay, go ahead.
Karawakan. And accused those who had attempted to disprove their existence as being of that profession. The lengthy debate between Philometes, the doubter.
So now, Philomathus, that was the doubter. So he wrote this between Philomathus and Epistemon. So that was the two names that has the debate. Go ahead.
Karawakan. And Epistemon, the believer, begins with the latter, who is clearly a mouthpiece for James' own views.
So now, this is the mouthpiece for James' own views. So King James wrote it in like a dialogue form. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Setting out his reasons for believing in the existence of witches.
But he said he believes in the existence of witches. And why did he believe in the existence of witches? Why? Because the Bible mentions witches. I mean, witches do exist. They're drug dealers, man.
That's right.
I mean, witches do exist. They do exist as drug dealers. They just don't fly on brooms. That's
right.
all. Or if you've seen a drug dealer, you've seen a witch. But we're so used to seeing witches that it's the norm now.
So like you said,
be normal. So like, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you there, so mid speech. But instead of them, driving on broomsticks, witches are flying in BMW whips. You know what I mean? Cars.
They're selling drugs on Instagram.
Right.
Selling Cali weed on Instagram. So witches are selling California weed and cheese and all of that on Instagram now. Whereas back in the days, you'd be getting killed for it, man. But now, what it is, their emphasis on the witch back then was too much, if you get what I mean. But witches do exist because they understood that the woman in the book of Samuel was a witch. That's right. They understood that because King James even made reference to that, even made reference to the Apocrypha and so forth. if we will probably get to it if we've got time. So, Lucky, go ahead.
Khan. He claims that witchcraft is clearly proved by the scriptures.
Wait, he said what?
He claims that the witchcraft is clearly proved by the scriptures.
I said that witchcraft is clearly proved by the scriptures, man. And is witchcraft is it in the scriptures? Yes or no?
Khan.
Exactly, man. So King James was a Christian man that understood witchcraft is in the scriptures. Go ahead. And also, if you're on the YouTube, the Facebook, get the likes up, man. Get the likes up because it boosts the algorithm. Clicking the like button's free, man. Even if you don't like it, just click the like button. You don't have to like it, just click the like button. So lucky. Even if you're a witch, click the like button. So lucky. Go ahead. Or put your name in the PO box. So lucky. I mean, names in that PO box if you're clicking the like button. That's lucky. Go ahead.
Khan. Moreover, the king made it plain that the only way to rid the world of such evils was to hunt down, arrest, and execute the perpetrators.
What did King James say?
Salake. He said to hunt down, arrest, and execute the perpetrators. The witches.
Hunt down, arrest, and execute them, man. This don't sound like a man that was a witch to me. He said you hunt them down, execute them. Go ahead.
It looked like he's following how the kingdom would be.
That's it. Because he's saying, yo, we're gonna hunt them down and execute them. But at this time, he wouldn't. He's not supposed to do that. Why? Because Christ has came to give them a second chance. But he don't know any better in the world. So like, go ahead.
So his intentions are good, but he's not really finding witches.
He's killing everyone. His intentions is good. He's trying to rid his kingdom of them. But then the measures ain't really. Like what qualifies as a witch back then, what being single and old, and it's not really someone putting your name in the PO box. It's not really hard evidence if you get what I mean.
God.
But his intentions are good that he wants to rid his kingdom of such devilish acts and wickedness. So like, go ahead.
Khan, by offering their life as a sacrifice to God.
Ooh, what did he say? He said he's gonna do what?
He's gonna offer their lives as a sacrifice to God.
He's going to offer their life that's some gangster saying right there, I'm going to offer your life. He goes, listen, he's so zealous for the laws of God.
Right.
He said, I'm going to send these witches to God, man. That's how zealous of the law of God he was. He goes, all right, then these are going to act up. I'm going to show everyone why you shouldn't be a witch, man. Go ahead.
Right. You're going to meet Jesus.
The authorities would lift the curse placed upon the witches' victims, as well as to convince those who doubted the existence of witchcraft. The purpose of demonology was to inspire those who persecuted witches in Scotland and England with new vigor and determination. James described witchcraft as a high treason against God.
This is the whole purpose of him writing Demonology. Read that again. This is all you need. Read that part again. This is all you need if someone tells you King James got people to believe in demons. This is all you need. It tells you the purpose of why he wrote the book. Go ahead.
James described witchcraft as a high treason against God.
King James, then give me the part where it goes, give me as well as to convince those.
Khan. As well as to convince those who doubted the existence of witchcraft.
To convince those who doubted the existence of witchcraft. Go ahead.
Khan. The purpose of demonology was to inspire those.
Now King James is going to tell you the purpose of demonology, because people say King James was a demon and a mason. Now King James is going to tell you out of his own mouth the purpose of demonology. This right here is the whole purpose of the book. Go ahead.
Khan. The purpose of demonology was to inspire those who persecuted witches in Scotland and England with new vigor and determination. James described the witchcraft as high treason against God.
That's the whole purpose of demonology.
That's right.
To help those that was dealing with witches and witch hunts, and they described it as high treason against God, not against the king. It said witchcraft is high treason against God. So anyone that tells you King James loved witches and whatnot, this is all you have to do is read that line there. That King James said is high treason against God. Next slide. So like you go ahead.
So you mean tell me people that hate King James say, oh, he wrote a book about demonology, and don't
They don't even read it. They don't
Exactly.
read it.
That's it. They don't read it at all. Listen, it's crazy, you know. I've been waiting for someone to come with information like why you read the King James version because he believed in demons, and I just can't wait to just kill them with the information. I'm gonna act like I don't know and get them on the live. I'm gonna get them on the live, and we're gonna pull out the book of Demonology and say, "Well, show us, make them look stupid, man." Because my whole life, you've been hearing it your whole life as well. I've been hearing it my whole life, man. So I said one day, you know what? Let me read the book, man. I said one day, let me read the book. Go ahead.
So they just think they don't know that they do know what they don't know.
Exactly, they know nothing, man. But they think they know everything. They think them looking at the page. This is what they do. They look at this picture right here. They look at this picture of demons on the front, and then they say, "Look, King James got us to believe in demons." When really, King James told us right there what the whole purpose of the book was for, man. So if you believe King James got us to believe in witches and demons, I need you to come and do a sit down with us, man. Come and do a sit down with us. And all we need is the book of demon. We won't go into no other sources. We'll just read the book of demonology. And you bring the book of demonology also. And we'll see who knows what they're talking about and who don't. So, Lucky, go ahead.
Karawakan, they can raise storms and tempests in the air.
So now this is King James losing his mind again because the witches, he believes the witches tried to kill him. He was telling you what the witches can do. He's trying to say they can raise stones, but go ahead.
Karawakan, either upon sea or land, though not universally, but in such a particular place in prescribed bounds as God will permit them so to trouble, which likewise is very easy to be discerned from any other natural tempests that are meteors.
He's saying the ones the demons do, that tempest is different to the other ones. Go ahead.
Kamokan, that are meteors in respect of the sudden and violent raising thereof. Therefore, with the short enduring of the same. And this is likewise very possible to their master to do, he having such affinity with the air as being a spirit and a
so now they say basically this can be a spirit in the air. Go ahead.
Kawakan and Salakia, and having such power of the forming and moving thereof, as ye have heard me already declare. For in the scripture, that still of the prince, Salakia, that style of the prince of air is given unto him.
He says he's basically saying they can trouble the air. Why? Because the air is given to the prince of the air. So that's kind of why that's the precept that he read, which led him to believe that. But for time's sake, let me jump to the next slide. Lucky, go ahead.
Kawakan. Philippians, but will God permit these wicked instruments by the power of the devil, their master?
So even King James calls them the instruments by the power of the devil, their master. Go ahead.
Karawakan, to trouble by any of these means any that believes in him.
Go ahead. So now King James wrote, so King James then wrote, well, who can be tempted by the devil? So now he's going to explain. Go ahead.
Karawakan, no doubt, for there are three kinds of folks whom God will permit so to be tempted or troubled. The wicked for their horrible sins.
Even King James understood, by you sinning, you allow demons to jump on you, man. Even he understood that. That's why King James wrote here, the people that these witches and demons can attack is people who do horrible sins, man. King James was letting the Christian population know, like, yo, if you roll with God, you're good. You kind of don't have to worry about it. That's what it was letting them know. And then that's why it goes, the people who can be attacked by the demons, it goes, those people who sin, and is that not in the Bible that you keep sinning, the Lord will give you over to Satan? That's in the scriptures, man. So you keep breaking God's laws, it's a matter of time before you're giving over to Satan, man. So King James was right about that part. Go ahead.
Karawakan, to punish them in the like measure. The godly that are sleeping in the godly that are sleeping in any great sins or infirmities.
Because the godly that are sleeping in any great sins, meaning if you're a Christian but you're sinning, then the demons can attack you and jump on you. Whereas That's true, man. If you're in here and you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be, the demons is going to jump on you, man. Go ahead.
Right.
Kawakan, and weakness and fate.
Because the ones that are faith, because why? He's reassuring these men, like, look, man, don't be afraid, but the demons are out there and they can only attack you if these things happen. Go ahead.
Kawakan, to waken them up the faster by such an uncouth form. And even some of the best that their patience may be tried before the world, as Job was.
Because some men that their faith and patience may be tried. There's another part in the book where it goes that their faith may be tried. Why? Because he read the book of Job and understood Satan was attacking Job. So he took it as, yo, they was jumping all over Job, but Job was righteous. So sometimes they try righteous men too. Which is true. Demons try righteous men too, man. Demons try righteous men every single day. Every single day they try righteous men. Like, yo, you're going to go mess with him today. So go ahead.
Kawakan, for why may not God use any kinds of extraordinary punishment when it pleases him, as well as the ordinary rods of sickness or other adversities?
Hold on, I'm trying to think. Jump down to the bottom part. I'm trying to skip it for time's sake. Jump down to the bottom part where it says, "Is it not lawful?" Right at the bottom of the page.
Kawakan.
So James asking himself a question, and he answers it himself. Go ahead.
Is it not lawful then, by the help of some other witch, to cure the disease that is casting on by that craft?
So now King James asks, is it lawful? Like, let's say you got a disease and there's a witch that can heal it. Is it lawful to go to a witch to heal you? Is it lawful to go to a witch to heal you?
Law, sir.
Exactly. So now King James, so now King James was a Christian brethren, not in the truth in the world. So let's see if he would go to a witch to cure him. Give me the next slide. Go ahead.
Kawakan.
King James
No
said,
ways lawful.
King James said it's not lawful to go to a witch, man. How are you trying to say King James was a witch and King James said it was unlawful to go to a witch?
If I
King
may,
James said it's totally lawful. Go ahead.
So, what about doctors then? Legal doctors with the, the medication that they have and they use to help people. And also,
all right. With that, they're not witches. Now, back then they used to call pharmacies a druggist. Used to call pharmacies a druggist. Now there's a difference between what? Someone that sells legal drugs and someone that sells illegal drugs. The one with illegal drugs, that one's a witch. The one that's doing it as a profession, that one's not a witch. So now, when you look at, like, let's say for instance, if you say to me, yeah man, I'm just going to the pharmacy to get my drugs. Now if you say I'm going to Tyrone to get my drugs, that meaning of drugs means two different things. Now if you say I'm going to the pharmacy to get my drugs, that's legal. If you say I'm going to Tyrone to get my drugs, that's illegal. One of them is punishable. By one of them, the police will lock you up for giving out drugs. One of them, the police know you give out drugs in there because it's your job. So that's the difference between the two.
Right, legal and not legal, can't you?
Pharmakia, when people pull up the word pharmakia and go into the backdrop of it and whatnot, pharmakia is more than one meaning. It's like the word drugs has more than one meaning. There's legal drugs, there's illegal drugs. It all comes down to who you get those drugs from.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
The pharmacist drug has a reason.
Exactly.
It's a cure, man.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Weed man and coke man is trying to make you hit dizzy, man.
That's it. And he ain't been to university to know how much you're supposed to prescribe to you. Now the doctor knows. Listen, I guarantee you, whenever anyone's brought weed, they've never seen on that bag of weed where it says take 2 doses a day. You've never seen that. Take 2 doses a day, 4 hours apart. You don't see that on the weed you buy. But when you go to the doctor, he has instructions and a little leaflet in there, man. That's how you know the difference.
Right.
One's lawful to go to, and one's unlawful. So that's the difference.
Right. Fine.
Right, go ahead, Bracket Ale.
Karawakan. For I gave you the reason thereof in that axiom of theology, which was the last words I spake of magi.
So magi is magic. It's just old English. Go ahead.
Karawakan. How then may these diseases be lawfully cured?
Well, now King James asked himself, how then may these diseases be lawfully cured? Now he's going to give the answer. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Only by earnest prayer to God.
King James didn't say go to a witch if you're sick and you're dying. He said pray to God, man. He goes, only by earnest prayer to God can you be killed. Go ahead.
Karawakan. By amendment of their lives and by sharp pursuing every one according to his calling of these instruments of Satan.
Go ahead.
Karawakan, whose punishment to the death will be a salutary sacrifice for the patient.
He's saying if you've got a disease and you go to a witch doctor, it's not going to benefit you in the end, man, because you're going to die for the unlawful act that you've done. Go ahead.
Karawakan. And this is not only the lawful way, but likewise the most sure.
And he's saying the lawful way is to earnest prayer to God. Go ahead.
Karawakan. For by the devil's means can never the devil be cast out, as Christ said.
He's quoting the Bible. He's saying, why would you go to a witch doctor to get healed? Because he's saying Satan can't cast out Satan, man. And he's quoting that from the scriptures. Listen, King James was a stern Christian, man. People make out like it was this. I don't even know what they make out, but everything that I've read about King James, it seems like a sincere man in the world to me. So, like, go ahead.
Karawakan. In Mark chapter 3. And when such a cure is used, it may well serve for a short time, but at the last, it will doubtlessly tend to the utter perdition of the.
He goes, if you go to a witch doctor, in the last, there's going to be utter perdition, both in body and soul. Go ahead.
Karawakan, both in body and soul.
He's saying if you go to a witch doctor, your end ain't going to be good. Hold on, let me see what I want for time's sake. Yeah, go ahead, give me this one here, because why? A lot of the jury was afraid to punish the witch doctors. So now he's letting them know, look, man, you have to punish them. Give me this one.
Karawakan, what sort of folks are least or most subject to receive?
From Philomathus.
Karawakan, Philomathus, but who dare take upon him to punish them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Karawakan, but who dare take upon him to punish them, if no man can be sure to be free from their unnatural?
Now, King James had to write this down because this is a great question. He's saying, yo, if the jury is scared to punish them because they believe the witches is going to put a curse on them, what happens? So King James answered it so he could reassure his magistrates, don't be afraid of them and punish them. Go ahead.
Karawakan, we ought not the more of that restrain from virtue, that the way whereby we climb thereunto the straight and perilous. But besides that, as there is no kind of person so subject to receive harm of them as they that are of infirm and weak faith.
He's saying, look, man, they can't harm you unless you're a man that's weak in faith. He's telling the jury this because he don't want none of the witches set free. Go ahead.
Karawakan, which is the best buckler against such invasions, so have they so small power over none, as over such a zealously and earnestly pursues them without sparing for any worldly respect.
And don't give them no respect, man. Punish them. Go ahead.
Karawakan, it is even so with them, for neither is it able to them to use any false cure upon a patient, except the patient first believe in their power and so hazard the tinsel of his own soul, nor yet can they have less power to hurt any, for such a contemns most their doing, so being it comes of fate, and not of any vain arrogancy in themselves.
Go ahead.
Karawakan. But what is their power against the magistrate?
Now, because the people in court that's meant to prosecute them, they're scared that the witches are going to put a curse on them. So King James, so now it says, what is their power against the magistrates? Go ahead.
Karawakan. Less or greater according as he deals with them, for if he be slothful towards them, God is very able to make them instruments to waken and punish his sloth.
Yo, if you're very slothful towards these witches, God will make them instruments to harm you or whatever. So King James is saying, don't be slothful towards these witches. Punish them, man. Go ahead.
Karawakan. But if he be the contrary, he according to the just law of God and an allowable law of all nations.
He's talking about the just law of God. Why? Because King James believed in the law of God, man. Go ahead.
Kawakan will be diligent in examining and punishing of them. God will not permit their master to trouble or hinder so good a work.
So now he's saying if you punish them and you do the work of God, God won't allow these demons to hinder you and so forth. Let me see where I'm at for time's sake. No, I'm not going to read all that. Basically, this part right here is King James saying, yo, if you don't live your life right and you're a sinner, then the demons will come and bother you. Yeah, go ahead, give me this one. So now this is coming towards the end of the book.
Karawakan. Philomates.
Go ahead.
Then to make an end of our conference, since I see it draws late.
This is when they're making the end to the whole book of Demonology, the end of their conference. Go ahead.
Karawakan. What form of punishment think ye merit these magicians and witches?
So now goes, what punishment should these magicians and witches get? This is in the book of Demonology, by the way. Go ahead.
Karawakan. For I see that ye account them to be all alike guilty.
And he goes, I see that you account them to be all alike guilty. So King James is asking himself a question. That are all the magicians and the witches guilty? Go ahead.
Karawakan.
King James said, read.
They ought to be put to death.
What did King James say about magicians?
They ought to be put to death.
What did King James say about witches?
They ought to be put to death.
Go ahead.
Kawakan, according to the law of God.
King James, he said they ought to be put to death according to the law of God. So where do people get the story that King James was getting everyone to worship witches and King James was a mason? And you don't say that here. It says King James said they ought to be put to death according to the law of God. Go ahead.
Karawakan. The civil and imperial law and municipal law of all Christian nations.
Go ahead.
Karawakan. But what kind of death, I pray you?
I was asking what kind of death should they get? Go ahead.
Karawakan. It is commonly used by fire.
King James said burn them with fire, man. That don't sound like a man that like witches to me. Listen, man, I used to hear lies about the book of Demonology my whole life. I heard lies my whole life. And now I'm reading the book and I'm seeing King James said burn the witches with fire. I'm seeing King James said is zealous of the law of God. I'm seeing King James said they go against the law of God. That's what King James said. King James, ever seen King James say anything wrong in the book about worshipping demons and so forth? We ain't seen it. You see King James talking about how to punish them. So lucky, go ahead.
Karawakan. But that is an indifferent thing to be used in every country, according to the law or custom thereof. Kawakan, but ought no sex, age, nor rank to be exempted? None at all, being so used.
This is what he said. He goes, but ought no sex, age, nor rank to be exempted. King James said, anyone that's a witch can get it, man. That's what he said. Goes, any witch can get it. Go ahead.
Kawakan. Not at all, being so used by the lawful magistrate, for it is the highest point of idolatry.
He said witchcraft is the highest point of idolatry. That's what he said. Go ahead.
Kawakan. Wherein no exception is admitted by the law of God.
Wherein no exception is admitted by the law of God. Go ahead.
Kawakan. Then barons may not be spared. Yea, not a hair the less of my conclusion, for they are not that capable of reason as to practice such things. And for any being in company and not revealing thereof, their less and ignorant age will no doubt excuse them.
So it's saying don't let no one go, don't care about age or nothing. Let me get the last ones. Give me.
So lucky, sir.
Go ahead.
Can I give you a precept? Exodus 22, verse 18.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me that
Thou
one.
shalt not suffer a witch to live.
There you go, man. And that's where King James got it from. King James got this from Exodus 22 and 18. So if anything, King James was following the law of God. Because why? The law of God says don't allow a witch to live, man. Suffer is old English for And King James took that scripture and ran with it, man. And he was tearing up everything. He was tearing up everything and punishing the witches, tormenting them, and so forth. He was doing the work of an evangelist, man. So lucky, he was moving mad with it. That's lucky. Go ahead, give me this one. After this one more, we can roll.
Karawakan, I see you condemn them all that are of the counsel of such crafts.
So now this is talking about condemning the witches. Go ahead.
Karawakan, no doubt, for as I said, speaking of Magi, the consulters, trusters, and overseers, entertainers, or stirrers up.
King James didn't even want to let the entertainers live, man. You people doing sleight of hand tricks. King James said you can get it too. Go ahead.
Karawakan. The stirrers up of these crafts folks are equally guilty with themselves that are the practicers.
Listen, man, it goes, yo, and if you pay attention to what these people are doing, you're even guilty as the practicers. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Whether may the prince then or supreme magistrate spare or oversee any that are guilty of that craft upon some great respects known to him.
Go ahead.
Karawakan, the prince or magistrate for further trials cause may continue the punishing of them such a certain space as he thinks convenient, but in the end to spare the life and not to strike when God bids strike.
And King James said, don't spare their life. King James goes, why are you going to spare their life when God's telling you to strike? King James then goes back to Saul and says, yo, when Saul was meant to strike him and he didn't do it, King James goes, yo, the Lord said, kill the witches and you're not going to strike. You're meant to strike and kill the witches. King James said that in the book of Demonology, man. Maybe I got the wrong copy, I don't know. Maybe I got the wrong copy and mine is telling me something different to what everybody else is telling them. So Lucky, go ahead.
Karawakan. But yeah. And so severally punishing so odious a fault and treason against God, it is not only unlawful but doubtless no less sin in that magistrate, nor wasn't
and now King James goes, yo, it's a sin for the magistrates not to punish. Go ahead.
Nor was it in Savlis.
So the Saul, but
oh, it's like it. Nor was it in Saul's sparing of Agag.
Listen, man, this nigga starts quoting the five precepts, man. He's saying, yo, if you don't punish these witches for what they're doing, you're no different to Saul when he didn't punish Agag, man. Go ahead.
Karawakan. And so comparable to the sin of witchcraft itself as...
That's the scripture where it talks about rebellion is the sin of witchcraft. And listen, man, the Lord told Saul to kill Agag or whatever his name was. And King James is saying, if you don't kill these witches, you're like Saul who spared Agag, man. So this don't sound like a man that was fond of these witches to me. He goes, get rid of them, go ahead. Even put the precept in Samuel 15, man. Slappy, go ahead.
As Samuel alleged at the time in 1 Samuel 15.
Go ahead.
Surely then, I think, since that this crime ought to be so severely punished, judges ought to beware of condemn any.
So he goes, you meant to condemn him. Give me. After this, we probably got one more than we don't. Go ahead.
Karawakan.
So now, you know how we should be punished. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Upon the subject of how a convicted witch should be punished, James was.
So now this is how a convicted should be punished. Go ahead.
Karawakan. They ought to be put to death according to the law of God, the civil and imperial law.
This ain't even demonology. This is a next book, and this is what King James said we should be put to death by fire. Go ahead.
Karawakan. And municipal law of all Christian nations, his personal preference was for death by fire.
He said he wanted these witches death by fire, man. Listen, man. King James weren't playing no games. Let me just get. Yeah, after this one more, we done. Hold on. After the two more slides and we out of here, go ahead.
Karawakan.
Both
that such assaulted.
Go ahead, Hakim. Yeah, let Hakim. Go ahead, get this one, Hakim.
Counter. Both that such assaults of Sathan are most certainly practiced and be punished. Salakia. And the instruments thereof merits most severely to be punished.
So now, all throughout the book, we talked about King James punishing them. That's all this book's about, is King James punishing the witches. That's what the whole book's about. Give me the next one.
Come on. So, I have put in the form.
This page right here is from the introduction of Demonology. So this is all you need. This is page 6 in Demonology. This is all you need if you're battling anyone. Give me this part.
Khan. I have put into the form of a dialogue, which I have divided into 3 books. The first speaks of magic in general and necromancy in special. The second of sorcery and witchcraft, and the third continues a disclosure of all these kinds of spirits and specters that appears and troubles persons. Yeah, I just see that. Together with the conclusion of the whole work, my intentions.
So now King James is going to tell you his whole intentions with this book. Go ahead.
Is to prove 2 things, as I have already said.
This is the whole conclusion. This is the whole conclusion of Demonology. Go ahead.
The one that such devilish arts have been and are. The other, what extract, trial, and severe punishment they merit.
That's the conclusion of the whole book, man. The conclusion of the whole book is about what these demons are doing and what punishment they deserve for these wicked arts. That's what Demonology is about. Let me get the last one. Give me this one. So now this is the last book of Demon. This is the last page of Demonology. Brocky, I'll get me this one. And then anyway,
Karawakan. Well, we have made this conference to last as long as leisure would permit. And to conclude then, since I am to take my leave of you.
Now this is the ending of the book. He's taking his leave. Go ahead.
Karawakan. I pray God to purge this country of these devilish practices.
He says, I pray God to purge this country of these devilish practices. That's what King James wanted. King James wanted to purge his country of devilish practices. He wanted to purge his country of witches and warlocks and demons and so forth. Go ahead.
Karawakan. For they were never so rife in these parts as they are now.
And that's hold on, let me go back to the stream, yo. Hold on, So now that right there is Demonology, man. That right there is what Demonology is about. The whole book is about how King James deals with the demons in his kingdom, man. That's all it's about. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. Any questions before we go? Or is everyone
Sir.
Oh, thank Christ. All right, so with that, clap it up. We're going to be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. with the scripture breakdown class. Go ahead, Hector. You can call it.
Give the teacher a hand. Another hand for the teacher. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Shabbat. Class dismissed.
For water again, I appreciate it. We'll be here
Heavy class here.
So most time Christ, man. Also, anybody wants any history, just hit me on Facebook. Obviously, my Facebook's done. Just message me whatever history you want, and we'll go all over it. So whatever history you want, any of the brothers just shout me whatever history you want. But with that, Shalom Israel.
Shalom.
Shalom, sir.
Shalom.
This is my foot. That is